Whoa, wait. The iPhone 10 could cost over $2,000 in Canada? Why though? Now, calm down. You will not have to pay $2,000 to buy the iPhone 10. That is only if you want to get the 256 gigs option. Now, if you want to buy the 64 gigs and you don't want Apple Care, it will cost you approximately $1,500. Yes, that is expensive, but if you get the 256 gigs option and you get the Apple Care also, you will have to spend over $2,000 to get that iPhone 10. Yes, that is really expensive, I know. So this video will tackle the following subject. Why are smartphones so expensive nowadays? So today I'm going to do my best to try and justify a really high price tag for an iPhone or any other smartphone for that matter. Let's start off with back then, many years ago when we had no smartphones. Looking back to those days, all of the things that we bought were single purpose devices. That means that we had to buy a single device to do a single thing. I mean, not a single thing, but you know what I mean. Like you had to buy a phone, a camera, a camcorder, and all of these things. Now today, all of those things fit in your smartphone and even more. So that is how we're going to try to explain the high price tags of smartphones these days. So let's take the iPhone. It does a lot of things, a lot of different things that back then you had to buy a whole array of devices just to do these things. Now if we take all the things an iPhone can do and we think about what we had to buy back then to do those things, we can try to justify why all those price tags added up to a higher price tag for a multi-purpose device. With me, I've got a list of things that your smartphone replaced over the years, and together we're gonna go through it and try to add the prices up of what those things were to cost back then and try to see if we can add it up to over $1,000, maybe $1,500, hopefully $2,000. But anyway, I'm just trying to explain why phones are really expensive nowadays. Or more like why it's okay to spend that much on a phone. So let's get to it. Your phone has a camera that takes photos and also videos. So your phone's camera replaces a regular camera as well as a camcorder. So those things, I don't know, back then probably costs over $100. Let's say $150 each. So that adds up to about $300. Then you can listen to the radio with your phone. You can also listen to music. So it's also a radio and an MP3 or a CD player, a cassette player, whatever you want to call it. So let's say those two things added together are about, let's say $150. That adds up our total to $450. So far, it's not too bad. Let's move on. Next up, we've got an e-reader, a calculator, flashlight, GPS, a compass. All of those things would cost around, let's say, $150 or so, depending on what you buy, the quality of it and all this. But I'd say $150 is enough to cover all of those previously mentioned things. So that brings our total to $600. Now let's move on to other things. It replaces a portable gaming console. So let's say a PSP, a DS, a Game Boy, whatever you want to call it, can be replaced to some extent with your phone, as you can install games on your phone and play instead of having to buy a whole separate console. Now, an average console would cost around, let's say $200, maybe $300. Let's say $250 just to be sure. Now, if we had this, we get to $850. We're getting close to $100 now, which is not too bad. So this is all cool and all, but you still need to have a phone. So let's say your basic cell phone back then was really dumb, wasn't expensive. I'm gonna say it probably was around $200. If I've been keeping track correctly, I think our total is now close to $1,000. And when you think about it, with a smartphone, you no longer need a phone at home. So just take that off your list, take that money you had to pay on a monthly basis and put it on your phone. And that brings us up to about $1,100. Now, all those things are pretty basic. So I'm gonna stop that list here for the average consumer. So that justifies why a phone could possibly or maybe cost $1,100 or so. And yes, I know that's really far from $2,000. But again, I'm not justifying such a high price. I'm explaining why phones are expensive. Not that expensive, but expensive. Now let's move on to the not so average consumer. Depending on who you are and how you use your phone and deal with your life and all this, your phone could maybe replace your gaming console at home. That means that you no longer need an Xbox or a PlayStation. I know this is not the average consumer, and assuming that consoles are around $400-500, maybe sometimes more, that brings us up to about $1,600. which is not too far from the maxed out iPhone 10. And again, for the not so average consumer, maybe, just maybe, I know that's a stretch, but it could possibly maybe replace your computer. Now I know that sounds insane, but if the only things you do with your phone is Twitter, YouTube, internet browsing, and maybe work on some documents of some sort, taking that into consideration, you may no longer need a computer at home, or at least a laptop or an iPad or whatever. So basically, if that applies to you, you do not need a laptop anymore. That means you can take your laptop's cost and invest it into an iPhone or any other smartphones. And if, let's say, we assume that the average laptop costs around $700, sometimes even more, a lot more than that, if you go for MacBooks, that is, which, let's be serious, are the best. And that brings our total over $2,000, which means that the iPhone 10 is, yes, expensive, but is justifiable in a way that it just does all those things that you had to buy separate devices for in one single device, and that kind of justifies the high price, as it takes all those price tags and combines them into one device. All I'm saying is, yes, $2,000 is really expensive for a phone, but that's the logic I use to convince myself that it's okay to buy things that you want with your money that you earned. So I'm not gonna tell you how to spend your money. So do whatever you want, but you should really buy the iPhone 10. Let's not lie about this. Alright, that will do it for today's video. Thank you for watching Maple Tech. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. And again, thanks for watching and have a good day.